can take this is because not enough of you are thinking about how to use this. Coercive force in the hands of the people prevents tyranny. Tyranny. A word you will learn again and again and again. Oh, they may put a different phrase up. By the way, remember under Orwell's black hole, the memory hole, all of us will disappear. I think an interesting twist to this, and I always want to remind people of, is if you consider that they planned on doing what they are doing now in '81, and they did not succeed, by an act of God, by the actions of good patriots, some now dead, not dead because the enemy killed them, but because nature and attrition and the calling of God takes them away from us. We all will pass. But before we do, you must all pass on what you know to somebody else. You had better at least replace your number with one. At least. You are obligated to do so. If you are old, you must seek out and find a person and talk to them and educate them. This whole thing, let's talk about something here, the National Death Sentence and National ID Card Program. What do you think that's about? It is a death sentence levied against the American people and our living history books, our citizens. A key to the memory hole that Orwell knew about is to destroy those people who lived the events as quickly and as systematically as possible, if the events are not desirable. Is that not what Stalin did with his pogroms or with his purges? Is that not what happened in Kampuchea with the killing fields? I can destroy an entire event in their minds. Now, they were crude about it, but they're going to be much more systematic, and they're going to be very conniving, because I can take a young man here. In fact, now, how many people saw it in the paper? They want the 1 to 3-year-olds. They're raving about it in the papers. We need to have schools and have the kids in those schools from 1 to 3. Now, you have a kid, and a lot of other people here have kids. What do kids from 1 to 3 do? Eat and poop. Okay? Play with their trucks and toys, but we can give them the right trucks and toys if we're the government, and they can condition them properly from birth, or as close to it as possible. Why else would you want them? But to wrest them from the grandmothers and the grandfathers who do know the truth, because they lived it. You must wrest that power away so that the protracted family no longer exists. Hitler Youth. Before the Hitler Youth, what was there, though? You know what Joseph Goebbels said? I want you all to remember this, because Goebbels said this in 1936. I have modeled the Hitler Youth after the young Octoberists, where Comrade Molotov and Comrade Stalin have built what we hope to accomplish. The young Octoberists were there before the Hitler Youth. And after we ate Germany's lunch, walked through every door, beat down every house, the young Octoberists were still in place and are there today. Isn't it amazing that the illusion that has been created? Don't think about this, even though it's right in front of you. Don't think about this. Black. I've said this before about the MJTF. We know what the uniform is. We've identified, and we had 2 convoys last Wednesday, 2:35 in the afternoon. By cellular phone, I was informed. 30 vehicles in one column, 20 vehicles in another. Heading westbound on I-94, they were picked up somewhere before Battle Creek. They were followed beyond Kalamazoo. All the vehicles were black, no bumper markings, and every man in every vehicle was wearing a black uniform. Long before the SS wore that black uniform, though, somebody else did. Do you all know what the official uniform is of the KGB? Have you ever seen it? It's public information. Well, as of 1918, and even before that, with the Shteka, black was the traditional uniform of the secret police of Russia, period. It always has been. What does black signify? Terror. Terror. How can you people let these monsters creep into our lives? What is the uniform that they are going to, and why are they using the analogy? Black. terror. Why the ski mask? I'll tell you why. Geheimstabspolizei, Schutzenstaffel, Gewest, Stoi, Stoi. A knock at the door at 3 in the morning. The door opens up, there's fog outside, and the secret police come in. This is the boss, ATF, we're coming in! At 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, in broad daylight, it makes no difference. With ski masks on, the terror has the same effect. All you see are the eyes of a ruthless man carrying a real machine gun. Trained to kill who? The greatest threat to the New World Order, American citizens. By the way, I hope you have caught on to the way you've been threatened over the last week. Did anybody catch Alan Greenspan's comments about if we do not pass the NAFTA treaty? If you don't pass the NAFTA treaty, all of the stock markets of the planet will collapse, and it'll be on your head. And your head. Good. What that was a direct terror threat against us. Now, what did the President of Mexico say 3 days ago? Anybody catch it? If you do not pass the NAFTA treaty in the United States, we will force at gunpoint all of the poor of our nation across and into Texas, Arizona, and New Mexico. How do you like being threatened? You know what? Just about everybody figures they can kick sand in your face and you aren't going to do squat about it. And you know what? They're right. Because the people who are our leaders who were supposed to stop these things have not done so. I'm sorry, yes. Yes. Oh, yes. Rush Limbaugh. Thank you. Mr. Limbaugh. He isn't going to because the first question I'd have is this. That you should recall with Mr. Limbaugh is that he is on 300 public stations. He is syndicated. Nobody with 300 syndicated stations is going to tell you the truth. Now, what I call him in the plumbing field, what we call him is a check valve with a diverter to the left. Number one, his mission is to take free energy and resource, which is what all of us are. You must look at yourself in their formulas. You are a free, explicit, valuable resource. On your own, independent, capable, each one of us is a terrible strength, a terrible force to be reckoned with. Any 3 of us together, and we're in collusion. Any 10 of us together, and we're illegal, I'm sure. Okay? Pretty straightforward. Well, Mr. Limbaugh's mission is to bring us all into a channel. Keep us all on track. Their track. And then once he has us there, give us just enough. Oh, I'll give you just a little more. Here, a little more. Oh, yeah, a little more. Here you go. And a little more too. Oh, like feeding goldfish or guppies. You ever notice how they come to the surface? I don't know. Gives us just enough to keep us happy because we hear some of what we want to hear. Ah. But his mission is like each one of them, there's one specific task. And isn't NAFTA the most wonderful thing that you've ever seen on this planet? Because like he said, well, after all, if we don't go there, the Japanese will. Well, let me ask you something. Is there anything in the NAFTA treaty to stop the Japanese from going there if we drop our borders? No. They still go there, and now they have no tariffs to cross the border. And unlike... Yes. And what happens is this. The borders are open. They can put any plant there they want. The profits go back. And remember, the core profits are the key. Many of these quote-unquote multinational organizations right now, remember, have their capitals not in the United States, but in other nations. That's where the key profit goes. The key profit is the investment base that any nation uses. If Japan establishes factories in Mexico or throughout Mexico without restrictions, then what you have is a situation where